Welcome to UC News, ucnewscanada.ca. The Canadian Crisis Response. I'm Dr. Dave. A warning to viewers. This episode contains deeply disturbing reports of systematic attitudes of violence toward vulnerable people embedded throughout documents within Quinte West City Hall. City Hall has been under active criminal investigation for over 2 years. Complaints from Quinte West residents to ministry leaders and to the office of the Prime Minister have been heard, and action is being taken at the highest levels of government. They too are fed up with the Mayor and Council refusing to obey the best ministry directives, refusing to listen to citizens, refusing to obey direct public orders from the Prime Minister to obey the law. We are in crisis, and this local government has refused to respond. I will be reporting on the details of that criminal investigation, pointing out what the law is, what the problem is, and how caring Canadians can respond directly to those in crisis in greatest need. For those whose lives have been damaged by abuse, my deepest sympathy. If this issue is at present too difficult for you, my heart goes out to you. Seek the solace of friends. Do not continue to watch. What I can cover is just a quick overview of the main problem using openly available public sources of information available online. Let's say you're walking on eggshells. With an abusive person, any detail, the slightest perceived offense might escalate. You don't know what you've done wrong. There are no rules. You can't find any basis. You don't know what to do. The last thing you need is to encounter this same pattern of abuse coming from those in positions of power within government. Putting on a good face, but having actually abusive practices written into bylaws. This is not what we signed up for. In 1982, we recognized that the practices of British government were fundamentally brutal. Policies of force, taking without say, using violence to get what they want, were completely and utterly rejected by the Canadian people. These ideas of control, plunder, and exploitation were replaced by ideas of fundamental justice, care and concern for people, representation, and a commitment to, under all circumstances, address our most urgent issues. Quinte West City Hall has had over 40 years to update their practices to meet the caring requirements of Canadian law. Now, in our time of crisis, they continue to use policies of force and abuse, policies proven to destroy lives and remove essential freedoms necessary to meet our most urgent human needs. Multiple, widespread violations of charter law, human rights abuses, violations of contract law, civil law, the criminal code. Understanding that these are not accusations, these are active practices embedded throughout City Hall documents and bylaws that can be verified directly and experienced by citizens. City Hall itself submitted the evidence. They put it in writing and signed it. Understanding that these are the personal beliefs of the Mayor and Council, the staff are doing the best they can under the circumstances. The legal situation is this. City Hall is incorporated to create a legally artificial person. This protects the Mayor and Council, justifiably so, because you don't know who has endowed City Hall with its most despicable practices. Legally, City Hall is supposed to be endowed with the best character and behaviors, our Canadian values and beliefs in care, law, and justice, as described in our Constitution Act. We have top laws they must obey. Yet, you may have experienced City Hall as a person of the poorest character. Your letters, email, and complaints have reached the highest levels of authority. Actions are being taken. Refusal to represent people. rejection of law and democracy, actions taken against people, entitlement, systematic abuse of position. The characteristics of an abusive person have no place in City Hall, not in the documents, not in the bylaws, not in relation to people. In 1982, Canadian citizens won the right to personal, social, and national self-determination. Self-directed self-determination. This means people in local communities have the right to be involved in anything that impacts their life and future. And there are many means and mechanisms throughout Charter law that allow you to do so, to act freely and with care to meet our most urgent needs. And act we must, kindly and fairly, and with urgency, for we are in crisis. The COVID crisis has precipitated an economic crisis. We cannot add that to a crisis at City Hall. The current team will be kept in place to run basic services. In an organized, stepwise manner, we will replace each one of the policies at City Hall with policies consistent with top Canadian law. Consider this as a series of projects for ongoing community involvement. The Mayor has, unfortunately, written bylaws that reject communication rights and community involvement. Instead, there is a fee per question with no guarantee of a truthful response, and has not responded to the current crisis, the critical role of representing people in need. The team that caused the problems cannot be the team to solve them. Effective immediately, under the authority of the 1982 Canadian Constitution Act, I am calling on any and all Quinte residents of sound heart and mind, with a spirit of care and humanity toward others, to form a crisis response team to address our most urgent issues, to write bylaws consistent with the law, and to present to voters, when the time comes, a choice between the old City Hall and the new one that actively represents and defends our lives.